Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kaylee Mitchell with the Ohio Pork Council. Here at Ohio Pork, I have the honor of working with and on behalf of Ohio's pig farmers, like the one we'll be visiting very shortly, to help them in their mission to provide safe, affordable, and nutritious pork products while also taking great care of the pigs, people, and planet while doing so. We are so glad that you have joined us this afternoon for a live virtual tour of a pig farm with Farmer Veronica, where she will share how she cares for her pigs every day while also working to protect the environment. Before we go out on the farm, I would like to take care of a couple housekeeping items so you'll know how to interact with us today. We want to make sure that today's event is as engaging and interactive as possible and encourage you to submit your questions to Ask Our Farmer. If you're joining us via Zoom, we invite you to submit your questions to us at any time throughout the trip by clicking the Q&A button found at the bottom of your Zoom window. We will try to have our farmer answer as many questions as possible during today's event. We are also live streaming this trip to YouTube, and if you happen to be watching us there, please note that the live chat function has been turned off to allow the video to stream without restriction on your school devices, so you can simply sit back and enjoy the program. However, please note that if you are joining us via YouTube and would like to ask or submit your questions to Ask Our Farmer, you can go back to the registration email that you received and join us via Zoom to do so. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and introduce our farmer and get this trip rolling. Today, we have the pleasure of connecting live with Farmer Veronica from a pig farm here in Ohio. We look forward to learning about all of the ways that Farmer Veronica and her team care for their pigs. Good afternoon, Farmer Veronica. It's great to see you again today. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, the farm that you work at, and what you do there on a daily basis?
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Kaylee. My name's Veronica. I've been pig farming for quite some time now, and I do have my master's in swine nutrition and animal science with a focus on swine nutrition. However, you do not need to have higher education in order to become a pig farmer. Um, that was just the path that I chose because I really thought it was just interesting. And it's not something that you necessarily need, but what you really need is experience. So if it's something that maybe you're interested in or thought about, I recommend, trying to get involved with maybe a local producer or someone who just has pet pigs, going into a county fair or something like that, that can get you some pig exposure. And just see if it's something that you'll enjoy. And if you don't enjoy, you still learn something new. So my day to day in my pig farm here is the first step is to shower in. So we have this term biosecurity that we use in order to keep our pigs happy and healthy and kind of reduce the risk of bringing in any foreign diseases. So we come in, we leave our street clothes on one side, we take a shower, and then you go through to what is called the clean side. And that's where you'll have your farm clothes. So every farm will have its own designated clothing that stay at that location. And then in order to go out to the barn, you'll have your farm boots, and then you can actually get out there and see how your pigs are doing. So there's quite a first big step just to even get into the barn. But once you're in the barn is where we'll start looking at our pigs. So I will show you where we are at currently. So these are my pigs. This is a nursery. These pigs have been with us for a little over 21 days, and they started at a sow farm. So a sow is a female pig who has given birth before, and then there's a gilt who has never had a litter before. So at the sow farm, a sow will farrow, which is the term that we use for giving birth in pigs. So that pig will farrow after that 3-month, 3 weeks, and 3 days gestation period. So it's a really easy remember number of 333. And so they farrow, and then they'll stay at that sow farm for approximately 21 days. And they'll stay with mom and grow, and their about 2 to 3 pounds at birth, and they'll stay with mom again for that 21 days to about that 13 to 15 pound mark. So 21 days to about that 15 pounds. So they'll stay there, and then they get on a truck and trailer, and they take a little ride, and they come down to what's called a nursery. And so they come down to the nursery at that 13 to 15 stage, and they'll stay with us for 42 days. And that's about that 50 to 60 pound range in that nursery. And then they get back on the truck and trailer, and they take another little trip, and they go to what's called the finishing barn. So they'll be at the finishing barn for 120 days, or most commonly what we're looking for is that 280 market weight. So those are those big finishing hogs to where they'll take their final truck and trailer ride, and that's where they'll go to the market. So that's how you guys get your pork chops and your sausages on your plate. So from 2 to 3 all the way to 280 pounds is that kind of weight ranges, and that overall takes about 6 months. So in our nursery, you are looking at a little bit over 21 days, so halfway into the nursery phase. They're probably at that 20 to 30 pound range. And so we'll keep them until they're a little bit bigger, and at day 42, they'll get on that truck and trailer and head down to the finishing farm. So overall, my job is to, care for these guys. You can see some of those other pens are taking naps. It's kind of nap time. These guys are up and active. That's a good way to tell that everyone's happy and healthy. You can see that by those pigs who are napping, they're all cuddled up, but they're not piled too high on each other. That's how we know the temperature in the room is correct, and that everyone's at the place they need to be. So another cool fact about pig farms is we do use technology. So we have sensors throughout the room. We have this one right here. We have 2 others in the front and back of the room, and that will then control on a nice summer-ish day in Ohio. That controls the fans. So you'll see it's later in the day. It's a little bit warmer. We've got our fans kicked on. Temperature is right at where it needs to be. And that's due to the sensors and that technology we use. We have these inlets that let cool air into the barn. And we always want to make sure that we are at proper ventilation and proper temperature control. So you can always check that before you even get out to the barn. Once we get into the barn, this is a feeder. And so we're always checking these feeders. You can see they always have feed access. There's little spots for their heads to go. And the feed is delivered through a feed system. So it's throughout the entire facility. Every feeder has its own downspout, and everybody gets a delivered amount of feed. So you can see it's a nice ground up diet. It's what the pigs prefer size wise. And you can see that there's some corn flecks in there. A little bit harder to see, but it is there, is soy. So pigs eat a corn and soy diet. And we're always checking to make sure that they have feed. So corn and soy is what's most commonly fed in the US commercial industry. And so we have also a water cup. So we always want to make sure our pigs have access to fresh water. And so we use these water cups for when they're little, so it's a little easier for them to find and drink from, but they just control it with their snout. And again, it is piped through the entire facility from the top and then comes down to every individual pen. So everybody has water and feed access. So those are some of the things we are always checking. And if we have any pigs that need to be treated, that's our responsibility as a pig farmer. So we walk every aisle, every pen, looking at every pig, and we're making sure everyone is healthy looking. And so if someone has an ouchy leg, we'll treat that. Or if they're maybe sounding like they have a little bit of a cough, like people get, we'll give them a treatment as well. So we work with a veterinarian who gives us the proper medications and the proper dosages to make sure that, you know, we are keeping all of our little friends happy and healthy out here in our farm. So it's an everyday event. So every day we are out here and checking all of those things. Pig farming is, you know, it can be hard work. It's 24/7. We always want to make sure that things are working as they should be. So on Christmas, pigs don't know it's Christmas. So we always make sure that someone comes in the barn and is making sure everyone is where it all needs to be and everyone's taken care of. So that's kind of our overview of day to day in the pig farm. Some fun pig farm facts. This farm in particular, we identify our pigs in a few different ways. So I'm not sure if I can find you one, but there's some pigs that have air notches, and that is to identify what sow farm that those pigs came from. So that guy right here has an ear notch. So we know what sow farm he came from. And then once they're on our facility, we identify our pigs through pens. And so you have 4 on this side, 3 on this side. And we actually keep our males and females separated by those pens. So this is a pen of gilts, or those young females. And this is a pen of barrows, so our boys. And they grow just about the same, so they're getting the same feed and everything like that. So we don't really do much too special for them. We just keep them in that pen. Another pig farm fun fact is you can see that our floors are slatted. And so you have the manure and urine that just falls right down into the floor, or the pigs will push it down through those slats either way. And that is collected in what we call a pit. So that pit will then get emptied from one of the agricultural farm teams. And it's basically a big suction. And so they'll suction that manure slurry out, and then that gets applied onto the field, the crop field, where the corn and soy will grow to then actually feed the pigs that you're looking at. So we keep a really sustainable cycle of utilizing everything from the pigs, and to then go back to the environment to help gain the crops to feed them. So we don't waste much around here. Everything is useful. And I think that's kind of our basic overall pig farm.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that great overview, Farmer Veronica. I know that we surely learned a lot. We do have some questions here from some of our classes that are joining us this afternoon. And Miss Sheila's class would like to know about what temperature you keep the barn for the pigs in the winter, and about what temperature you keep the barn for the pigs in the summertime.
Yeah, so we actually keep the temperature about the same, no matter if it's in the summer or winter. So it's a temperature curve. So when these guys first come in at that 21-day old, those 15 to 13 pound pigs, we want our room temperature to be about 84 degrees. So we will have the heaters be ran a lot more in the wintertime to meet that temperature versus the summertime, we're not using as much of the heater. Actually, Mother Nature will do that for us a little bit better, but we keep at that temperature. And then as they grow older, we lower that temperature. So today in the barn, its set point is 75 degrees for these pigs. And so that's why all of our fans are kind of starting to kick on. It's a hot day out. These guys can produce a little bit of heat on their own, so we got to have the fans going to keep that set point temperature where we need it to be. So regardless of summer or winter, we're always following a temperature curve that's optimal for the pig. It's just the barn mechanism that controls that for us.
All right. Veronica, we have another question here from one of our classes, and they mentioned that they were reading Charlotte's Web in school, and in Charlotte's Web, the pigs like mud. But it looks like your pigs are pretty clean and don't roll around in the mud. So can you talk to us about why that is?
Yeah, so pigs, I'm sure if they were given the opportunity, these guys would love some mud, but they don't need to have mud. Pigs can't temperature regulate very well on their own, so they don't have the specific fat like humans do called brown fat. And brown fat is what allows us to regulate our body temperature. And they don't have that, so they don't sweat and they don't have that capability. So that's why pigs in an outside setting will use mud, because they're trying to cool themselves down. So in this facility, these guys are at the perfect temperature regulation. And so they don't need that mud because it's always where it needs to be. They do sometimes enjoy playing in the water, though. I've seen some water dishes take some sprinkler rides, and they kind of just enjoy to play, but it's more so just playing versus anything else. So these guys have a nice temperature regulated room, and so we don't need mud in our facilities.
Awesome. Thanks, Veronica. We have time for just a few more questions this afternoon before we wrap up. And one of our classes would like to know what breed of pigs you have on your farm.
Good question. So we have the commercial industry standard. So we have a Yorkshire and Landrace cross. They're very good maternal pigs. And so let me see. So these pigs with these upright ears are going to be that Yorkshire breed. And then pigs with the more floppy ears are going to be that Landrace. So you can see that cross in between the pigs that we have, but they're just very good pigs. They're good moms. They grow very nicely. They have a really good temperament, and that's why we have those breeds here.
Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Veronica. We have time for one more question here, and I think this is a great one to end on. One of our classes, Veronica, would like you to tell us what your favorite part about being a pig farmer is.
My favorite part about being a pig farmer is obviously how cute pigs are. I enjoy their spunky little personalities when they're zooming around those pens, having a good time. It makes me happy. But at the end of the day, what I really love is what I do matters every day. I really enjoy feeding the world. This hard job, but it's super rewarding knowing that coming in here every day is going to a greater purpose so that people can eat in this world. So that would be my actual favorite part of the job.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Farm Veronica. That was a great way to wrap up our virtual field trip today, so thank you. For any of our classrooms that need to disconnect at this time, please feel free to do so, and we thank you for joining us this afternoon. Veronica, again, this has been fantastic, and we thank you for taking some time to connect with us this afternoon. We certainly appreciate it and look forward to connecting again sometime soon. As we wrap up, I want to be sure to let all of our participants know that there will be a post-tour survey open in your browser upon the conclusion of the tour, as well as you will receive a link to complete that in a follow-up email in the next 24 hours. We would greatly appreciate you taking a moment to complete that survey to help us evaluate our trips. Speaking of trips, this is the last virtual field trip we have on our calendar for the spring. However, we will have more virtual field trips coming up this fall, so please stay tuned to virtualfarmtrips.com or visit ohiopork.org/field trip to stay up to date on all of our upcoming trips and events. On behalf of the Ohio Pork Council and Ohio pig farmers like Farmer Veronica and our technical producer Dan Tolan, we thank you again for joining us. We hope you have a safe and happy week, and we hope to see you again on a future virtual field trip. Have a great day.